Secretary Johnson testifying before the House Intelligence Committee earlier today, saying that Vladimir Putin, quote-unquote, orchestrated this cyber attack into the 2016 election. How do we prevent this from happening again?
Secretary Johnson testified today that Russia carried out a multifaceted interference campaign in our elections. Now, there's a lot of questions about whether any U.S. persons were involved, but what we certainly can do going forward is to make sure that we close any vulnerabilities for future elections. I think, regardless of whether you agree with who's in the White House today or if it's in your party or not, we should all come together and agree that we never want to find ourselves in a position like this again.
There was an exchange between Representative Pete King, a Republican from New York, as well as Secretary Johnson about the DNC's response. And Secretary Johnson said that he was, quote-unquote, not pleased with the response of the DNC, that they weren't able to act on it. What do you make of that? Should the DNC have been more proactive in working with the Obama administration to prevent this?
Yeah. Part of our investigation is to understand law enforcement's response as well as the DNC's response. Now, look, the DNC here was the victim of the hacking, but I do want to understand more about whether they fully cooperated with the FBI and the Department of Homeland Security, and that's part of our inquiry. But, I'm waiting to hear if, they did turn over everything that the FBI requested or subpoenaed. And, it sounds like that the DNC could have been more cooperative and that other states that Secretary Johnson had reached out to also could have been more cooperative in taking DHS resources. I think we're all learning what we could have done better at this point.
21 states impacted by the Russians. You've called for a commission. You've also gotten some Republican support, most notably from Representative Justin Amash. What is the state of that in terms of there being this independent commission in the House? Any updates on that front?
The best way to make sure that this never happens again is for us to have an independent commission to understand what the vulnerabilities were, whether any U.S. persons were involved, and to make recommendations as to what reforms are needed. We did that after September 11th. We can do that again and unify as Republicans and Democrats. The only way to do it, though, is to take it outside of Congress, call on bipartisan appointed experts to look at this, and then report back to the American people.
Congressman, the Senate passed a Russia sanctions bill tied, of course, to Iran. There's been a lot of controversy regarding this piece of legislation that now your colleagues on the House Foreign Relations Committee will have to take up. The White House has not said whether or not they agree with this sanctions bill, and there is some talk that Republicans are a bit weary of it. Do you have concerns about the fate of the Russia sanctions bill in the House of Representatives?
Russia is not our friend. They are a bad actor on the world stage. They have made incursions into Ukraine. They interfered in our elections. They're committing human rights violations in Syria. They should be sanctioned. And it is just mind-boggling that the Trump administration would do anything to keep the House or the Senate from moving forward and putting forth additional sanctions on Russia. And so Russia has gotten a lot out of the ties that it has with Donald Trump, his family, and its campaign. Right now we're investigating just what degree those ties are. But what has the United States gotten out of that relationship? Russia threatens to shoot down our planes over Syria. It looks like they continue to mess with our allies abroad. So, I think we have to ask whether it's bad judgment or it was something worse in the last election. What are we getting out of this relationship with Russia?
Just a final question on this topic. Should people be concerned? Are you satisfied, Congressman, with how we're better protecting ourselves from cybersecurity threats as we head into 2018, as we head into 2020? What happens when it's not a political institution, but it's a financial institution, or it's a hospital, or a higher education institution?
We are more vulnerable today than we were in the 2016 election to a cyber attack or cyber interference. And I say that because we've done nothing. This city has been in chaos since Russia's interference. We've been divided. And Russia, we know, they're sharpening their knives. And other adversaries, we know, will look at this as an opportunity. And then you have cyber criminals who also will thrive in the chaos. So unless we come together, close these vulnerabilities, and make Americans more aware, 2018 will be even worse.
That's frustrating to a lot of Americans. I want to ask you about the Georgia 6th district. You, of course, phone banked for Mr. Ossoff. He lost. A lot of people trying to decipher what this means. Do Republicans have more momentum now, Congressman, as a result of sweeping these special elections last year?
To me, losing sucks. It's hard to take a loss, but I also see the progress that 7 months ago in that district, we lost that seat by 23 points. Yesterday, we lost by 5. Now, that's cold comfort when you need people in this House to stop what the president and Republicans want to do on health care, on the environment, on jobs. So we have to start winning seats. We, I think, have a path forward to tell people we're for their job, for their health care, for their kids. And so I don't see the Republicans. The wrong lesson would be to conclude that the American people are with them. Because in that district, at least, they have lost 18% of the people who were with them just 7 months ago.
And earlier this week you introduced the Know Your Repayment Options Act to help people pay back their student debt. It would, of course, allow them to get annually a new option plan, or at least be aware of their options. Why is this important from a financial literacy standpoint?
I know how much student debt is crushing Americans because I'm one of them. I've still got about $100,000 in student loan debt. I see when I talk to young people, it's keeping us from starting families, buying a home, taking a good idea, and starting a business. So we just want to do everything we can to put more money in more pockets at the end of the day. And this Know Your Repayment Plan Act gives people just the full breadth of options available to them.